Right, so what is up guys, SDPeasy here, and today we're back with another FIFA type of video. We're not actually playing FIFA, not got any FIFA gameplay or any FIFA in the background today. We're going to be doing a video on the missing icons that I believe maybe should be in FIFA, but could definitely be in FIFA in future FIFAs to come, such as FIFA 21 and onwards. Now, there's certainly a few. I think I've got 17. I probably could have had a few more. But I wanted to try and almost get a squad and a bench. I mean, I think I'd need 18 really, so I'm one player short. But I was sort of struggling for the last one. I didn't want to pick someone just for the sake of picking someone. I didn't want to waste one and it'd be a pointless one that's never going to happen. So I've picked 17 players who I feel like definitely could have a chance of getting an icon card in FIFAs to come. And yeah, let's have a look at them. So we're going to start off with a massive player, Inter Milan hero, Adriano. Now, this guy, without injuries, could have been the best player ever, in my opinion. He was absolutely fantastic. He was pacey, his dribbling was insane, he was strong, his shooting was ridiculous. I thought I'd go for a 92 rating, so I thought he can't quite be as good as 94 R9 Ronaldo, because he never quite reached those limits just due to injuries. He never quite reached the heights that Ronaldo did, and it was simply only to injuries, because if he hadn't been injured he would have reached these heights, I feel, quite easily. So I feel like a 92 rating would be fair for him, and this would be an insane card to see going forward, and pretty OP. He'd be a very OP meta type of player in any type of FIFA. Right, so now we go with an icon that used to be in FIFA. We have Franz Beckenbauer. A man who was in FIFA, I believe, last in FIFA 15 or FIFA 16. His icon card just disappeared from the game. The same with a few players I've got in here, and some that obviously I haven't used. They've had icon cards in the past and they just go. I believe maybe the EA just lose the rights to have these players in their games. But what a card he did have when he was in the game. I believe I've actually gone for the same stats that he had then, because I thought, well, if they're going to bring him back, they're going to give him exactly the same stats as he did have before. So he was a pacey defender with who could defend. Like, the man had, just look at that card. That is ridiculous for a defender. 93 rated, I thought was fair. Probably one of the best centre backs ever. If we're being honest, he was absolutely fantastic for Bayern Munich throughout his whole career, and all the other teams that he played for, and obviously the German national team, winning plenty of trophies there. I mean, wow, what a defender. That card is ridiculous, and we could definitely see, I could definitely hope we see this come back in FIFAs to come, but it all depends on EA's licensing. But if he does, what a card. We now have an English one who definitely should be getting an icon card going forward, and that is David Beckham. Man United, Real Madrid, AC Milan, PSG legend, and obviously LA Galaxy as well. Now starting up his own team called Inter Miami. What a guy. Seriously, what a guy. This guy would be insane on the wings. He wouldn't be the quickest because he never exactly had blistering pace, in my opinion. But his dribbling and his crossing and his shooting would be unreal. I thought a 91 rating would be fair for this guy. He's probably one of the best wingers ever. He's not quite up there with some of the Brazilians like Garinca and so on. But he certainly would have one of the best cards ever. He'd become one of those cards you'd probably start at right wing but change formation in game and play him as maybe a cam or a centre mid. Or maybe even as a right forward he'd be pretty useful. But, I mean, realistically, his crossing would have to, and passing would have to be the 99s, really. They'd have to be 99 stats, because this guy had it all when it came to those areas of the game, and no one ever did have it better. On to one of the best right-backs ever, in my opinion, Cafu, a man who obviously won the World Cup with Brazil, was one of easily the best right-backs ever, one of the best full-backs ever, so definitely deserves to be in this game. I know obviously they do already have Carlos Alberto as a right-back, and obviously Roberto Carlos as a left-back from Brazil, but this guy was insane. Brazilian captain, AC Milan legend. He was never quite as quick as Carlos and Alberto, but he did have some insane defending stats, and he would still be nearly a full Hullet gang card. Certainly, maybe his shooting would slightly put him off the Hullet gang, but what a card he would have. 91 rated, I thought that's fair. He's probably about the same equivalent of player as Roberto Carlos was. They probably both had similar abilities over the time, obviously in different categories. Roberto Carlos had blistering pace, whereas Cafu was maybe a bit better defensively. But seriously, man, like, imagine that card. Now we've got for a French centre forward, we have Eric Cantona, Manchester United legend. His dribbling and physical and shooting would be what would get him that 91 rated card. Now, obviously, his passing was never a highlight of his career. His dribbling was his main forte. He was absolutely fantastic with his feet. His footwork was insane. He was always very strong on the ball. Physicality was never an issue for him, and his shooting was ridiculous. He was never actually the quickest player, so I didn't actually give him too much pace. So I thought maybe that would make him maybe even a higher rated card. But I thought 91 would be fair based on the stats that I've given him to give him a pretty well-rounded card, let's be honest. And he'd be pretty sick as a cam in FIFA for sure. Now we move on to one of the best left-backs ever, in my opinion. Obviously, as a Chelsea fan, I may have slightly bias there, but I don't even feel like I do. Like, this guy was actually mentally good. He was the best left-back in the world for a very, very long time. Ashley Cole, easily one of England's best fullbacks ever, if not the best English fullback ever. He was pacey, his defending was insane, he would get forward, he scored goals. This guy was a beast. He would also be another card who would be close to Hullet gang. Maybe his shooting would slightly be off, but he did score a lot of goals. He did score a lot of fantastic goals. So maybe they might boost his shooting a little bit more than I did. I've gone for a 90 ratings. I don't feel like he was Roberto Carlos 91 rated type of player, but he was very, very close. So I've gone for that 90 rating, thinking that is probably about fair for him. But boy, what a card he would be in game. Next up would be another Netherlands CDM. They have a few, but we've gone for Edgar Davids. What a hero of the game he was with his goggles on. A very recognisable player throughout history. You just sort of know this guy is based on his look. He was a pretty overpowered CDM during his time. He had some fantastic stats. He was a very hot-headed player, though, so obviously, like, I've given him that sort of physical stat based on the idea that he was very likely to get sent off for you. He's got a pretty well-rounded card and would be a fantastic CDM in FIFA. Certainly one that I think may come into FIFA in FIFA 21. This is maybe one that will come in before others due to it being an easier card to add to the game, due to, I imagine, that licensing is a lot less because he's maybe slightly lower rated. I've gone for an 89 because I thought if I push him into the 90s, that might be a bit kind based on some of the other players that I've got in here and the other players already in the game. So I thought that an 89 maybe did him about right. And even still, that's a fantastic card. We've now got an Argentinian striker, Di Stefano, Real Madrid legend, this guy. What a hero this man was. He scored goals for fun for Real Madrid. I believe he's up there with their top goal scorers of all time. He was pacey and his shooting was insane. He was quite a small player, so I've given him some weak physical stats maybe, and his passing quite low as well. But dribbling, shooting and pace, he certainly was your man. This guy, I feel like maybe in FIFA would be sort of maybe an okay-ish icon. Maybe due to the idea that depending on what FIFA you add him into, because passing is obviously quite key this year, and passing was obviously not. I've not given him the best stats. He would still be usable, but not the best. But for that pace, shooting and dribbling, boy, he would be a fun card going forward. He was an absolute goal machine throughout his career. Absolutely rapid, and with a low centre of gravity, being a short player, his agility was insane. So yeah, he'd still be a lot of fun to use in FIFA, I'm sure. Next up, I've gone for a goalkeeper, a Brazilian goalkeeping legend. That would be Dida, part of the amazing AC Milan team there was in the 05-06 sort of season. That fantastic team they had where they dominated European football, and just in Italy they were insane. This is when AC Milan were at their peak. This guy was absolutely fantastic. I've given him a very, very good card. Maybe should have given him a higher rating overall on the 90. Or maybe should have downgraded some of his stats slightly. But I actually really liked this guy when I was growing up. I really thought he was fantastic. So that's why I've given him such high stats. He maybe deserves even a 92. I might have been a bit harsh on the old 90 rating. But what a guy this was, and he certainly would be fantastic in FIFA. He'd be absolutely amazing in goal for you. I highly doubt you'd concede much. Then we have Samuel Eto'o, a fantastic Barcelona striker throughout his time. Obviously a Chelsea player as well. Obviously actually ended up playing at Everton as well, didn't he? But wow, what a player he was at Barcelona. That's certainly when his prime card would be about. 91 rated I've gone for. He was certainly a bit of a pace merchant. His dribbling was ridiculously good, and the goals he scored, he just scored for fun. Seriously, the man was an absolute beast. He really, really was absolutely fantastic. He was insanely physical as well, and I've given him good passing. So realistically, he's very close to a Hullet gang card. Obviously, his defending would not be insane because obviously he was a striker and scoring goals is his main forte. He was fantastic. Scored goals for fun. Part of that amazing Barcelona team that won everything. So how could you not have this man in the game? Really, how? We now have a German goalkeeper, Oliver Kahn, a man that a lot of people have asked for being in the game for a long time. Bayern Munich, absolute legend. This guy was insane for Germany and Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich won everything when this guy played. You just didn't concede goals with him in goal. It was as simple as that. You just didn't concede. He was insane. He was just one of these players that you had behind you and you felt confident that you weren't conceding. He would scream at you if you made a mistake, and you knew you were so like, I can't make mistakes, that you were confident in your play, you were confident in your keeper. I mean, really, I think that it's sort of he maybe sort of slightly went with the sweeper keeper style, which obviously Manuel Neuer ended up reinventing. But boy, what a card he would be. Now we have Michel Platini. For his ability during the game. What a player he was. For France, he was absolutely world class, and I believe he played for Juventus maybe. He was absolutely fantastic for them. During his playing career, he was a fantastic player. I have no respect for him now due to obviously his FIFA corruption and how he has tried to ruin football by making FIFA a corrupt company. So absolutely zero respect for him now, which is why I feel that this one may never happen in the game due to how much of a disgrace he is to the game nowadays. But during his playing career, he was one hell of a player. We now have one of possibly the best strikers ever, Puskás. This guy was a Hungarian legend. This man scored goals for fun. He was actually one of the highest goal scorers ever, close behind Pelé. So, I mean, that shows you how much of a goal machine he was, which is why I've given him insane dribbling, pace and shooting, because that's what he had. His dribbling for the time was beyond anyone. He was so much better than anyone else in the world. He would turn defenders inside and out. The guy could shoot for fun. He would shoot from anywhere he would go in. He was an absolute pace merchant. The guy was rapid, decent physical. What a card this would be. 94 rated, but Jesus Christ, what a card. Like, imagine how many goals you would score with him. We also now have another ex-FIFA legend. We have Romario, Brazilian striker. This man was in FIFA last, I believe, in FIFA 14 or FIFA 15. I believe it was a big rights deal that they lost. But hopefully we can maybe see this guy return, because in that FIFA he was absolutely fantastic. The last one he was in, everybody used him. He was a completely OP meta player. If you were anything good and you had coins, he would be in your team. His dribble, these are the exact card stats that he did have, I believe. I may have slightly changed them, I can't quite remember. He was pacey, dribbling, shooting. He had it all. He had what you needed for that FIFA, because I think that was a FIFA where pace and shooting was key. So physicality and passing weren't. Maybe he wouldn't quite fit into the meta nowadays, but certainly a player I'd like to see return to the game after his absence for the last few years. We now have one of the best centre-backs ever to play the game. Certainly the best English centre-back ever in my opinion, which is why I've given him the same rating as Ferdinand, because I refuse to have the argument with people of Ferdinand's better, Ferdinand, so I've just put them the same. Even though I believe John Terry was far better, I've put them the same because I refuse to have the argument of who's better with people, because they were both fantastic. But the guy was never exactly blessed with pace. Obviously he doesn't have the pace Rio had. He certainly has better defending stats though, because boy, this man was a rock. As obviously a Chelsea fan, this man is a hero to me. What a legend. And what a rock he was at centre-back for England as well. You just didn't get past him. Like, if he would block everything, his body was on the line at all times. It didn't matter what he blocked with, as long as it didn't go in the back of the net. That's what mattered to him. And as a defender, you really can't ask for much more than that. Captain fantastic, what a hero. Has to be in the game soon. So now we have another insane Premier League centre-back, Nemanja Vidic, the man who literally could defend anyone except Fernando Torres. That man always turned him an absolute new one. But this is another guy who was never exactly blessed with pace. We've gone for a bit less than John Terry, because I feel like Terry would have been quicker than him during his prime. But his defending stats speak for themselves. The guy was an absolute rock. Him and Rio together is probably one of the best centre-back duos ever. I mean, you're talking about the likes of... They're up there with Terry and Carvalho, Maldini and Nesta. I mean, like, you're talking some really big pairings here. Like, these guys were insane together. I made him 91 because I feel like he may have been one of the best Premier League centre-backs ever to play the game, in my opinion, just on his reading of the game defensively. and just how solid he was at the back. So I've given him that rating because I feel like he would be OP in FIFA. The final one for this video is another Brazilian icon, a centre attacking mid, a guy who would literally break the game in terms of meta. He would just be a better version of Socrates. We have Zico. What a player he used to be for Brazil during Pele's years, Garinca's years. The team they had back in the day was absolutely ridiculous. These guys, they would have minced through football now. They literally would have took the piss out of any team. They were fantastic. Easily some of the best players in the world all in one team. It was absolutely unfair how good their team was. Just all of their dribbling, their skills would have been fantastic. Definitely wouldn't have 5-star skills, 5-star weak foot player. He would be one of the best cards in FIFA without a doubt. And I feel like most players would use him if he does ever get introduced to the game. Hopefully we can see him maybe next year. So that for me is the missing icons from FIFA 20. If there's any players that I've missed, please let me know in the comments, or is there any players that you feel like have to be in there? Let me know in the comments, or send me a message, DM me or something, send me a tweet, let me know what you think should be in there if I've missed anybody out. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed. Keep showing your continued support for the channel, as I do upload every single day at 6 PM. So hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and certainly subscribe if you are new around here. We do upload every single day, like I've said. You don't want to miss out on that content. New video every day. What's not to love? But hopefully you have enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and peace.